Welcome to RPGX. Today we're counting down our picks for the best traditional turn-based RPGs that you should check out, and without further ado, let's dive right in. Eiyuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes. Before I continue, I want to explain what traditional turn-based actually means. Basically, it means that there's little to no need to move character positions during combat. So, simply put, you're not playing chess, you're just focused on choosing what to do next. Anyway, this game is the answer for fans who've been wanting a good modern retro JRPG, and let me also tell you that if you expect it to perform as well as the Suikoden games, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go in with the right expectations, you'll enjoy this one. The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. Okay, the Trails series is basically a hidden gem for people who only know the mainstream JRPGs, and this one is your entry point into the third arc, Erebonia, which by the way, spans 5 full games. Anyway, this series lives and breathes classic anime tropes. You name it. Long dialogue, endless character interactions, and social dynamics soaked in pure copium. I mean, the girls are lovely, the conflicts are dramatic, and everyone somehow believes everything will work out in the end. So, if that sounds comforting instead of exhausting, congratulations, you're the exact target audience. Final Fantasy VII. Now, modern JRPGs straight up stole half their DNA from this game. And yeah, I know, the graphics are rough by modern standards. Remember, early 3D was ugly as hell, and this came from that awkward era where 2D aged better than polygons. But once you get past the blocky models, the game still hits hard. I mean, the story holds up, the gameplay is still fun, and the themes are somehow even more relevant today. So yeah, it's old, it's crusty, but it's legendary for a reason. And if you care about JRPG history, this one's mandatory. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Alright, this remaster is basically a win for everyone. Old fans get to relive the journey without fighting ancient hardware, and new players finally get to see why the Suikoden games, especially Suikoden 2, is still whispered about like a JRPG holy grail. With this, you've got massive casts, political drama, war stories that actually hit, and that classic feeling of building something bigger than just your party. And with modern QOL tweaks, cleaner visuals, and smoother pacing, it's way more approachable now. So yeah, it's a nostalgia trip for veterans and an eye-opener for newcomers. Super Mario RPG. Okay, this remake stays extremely faithful to the original, and that's exactly why it works. If you loved Super Mario RPG back then, this is basically a guaranteed good time. The combat is simple, the timing-based attacks are still fun, and everything feels light and approachable. And no, this isn't a hardcore spreadsheet-heavy RPG. It's made for casual sessions, short playtimes, and just chilling without stressing your brain. It's also not overly long, which makes it perfect for beginners or mainstream players who want a taste of turn-based RPGs without committing their entire life to it. Final Fantasy IX. Alright, the combat in this game is known to be slow, like really slow by modern standards. But that's the deal with classic JRPGs. This isn't about turbo speed action or instant dopamine hits. This is about story, world building, charm, and immersion. After all, it's an RPG, not a strategy game. So, if you need constant explosions and flashy combos every 2 seconds, skip this one. But if you're mature enough to appreciate a slower pace, lovable characters, and one of the most heartfelt stories in the Final Fantasy series, then this game still hits. South Park, The Stick of Truth. At first glance, most people will think this is just a lazy cash grab riding on the South Park name, but nope, it's actually a legit, well-made RPG. The turn-based combat is great, the progression makes sense, and the writing is exactly as unhinged as you'd expect. And obviously, if you're already a fan of the TV show, you'll get into it way faster since you know the characters and the humor. But believe me, even newcomers can enjoy it just fine, as long as you're okay playing a game that looks childish and doesn't take itself seriously.
I've seen this language before. In the kingdom to the north.
Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remaster. Okay, this compilation takes the classic PS2 duology and repackages it for modern platforms, so you don't need to dig up your old memory card and PS2. And if you're hunting for peak traditional turn-based Final Fantasy combat, then this is the one the hardcore RPG crowd always brings up. I mean, the battle system is clean, strategic, and honestly the most refined turn-based setup in the entire series, and obviously the story hits hard, and the world is beautiful even today. So yeah, if you want a textbook example of a classic turn-based JRPG greatness, start here.
My blade sings. Time to strike.
Octopath Traveler 2. Alright, if you love traditional turn-based JRPGs, then this one is like a warm bowl of nostalgia with extra seasoning. It basically looked at the first game and decided to fix the annoying parts, and now the combat is smoother, smarter, and you can even crank the speed to 2 times if patience isn't one of your virtues. Also, it feels way more open than the first one, letting you explore at your own pace instead of feeling stuck in 8 little story bubbles. So yeah, with beautiful visuals, great music, and polished combat, honestly, this is a must-play.
Everyone.
Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Now, a lot of younger players look at this game and will say that it's old and retro. Yeah, no kidding, that's literally the point. This is a remake of a legendary JRPG, polished up with gorgeous HD 2D visuals and tons of quality of life improvements, but at its core, it's still the same classic NES adventure. So, yeah, don't walk in expecting a modern cinematic experience or flashy combat. This is pure traditional JRPG DNA. So, go in with the right mindset, and you'll see why old school fans treat this game like royalty. Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. Now, mainstream RPG fans will scream that FF7 is peak Final Fantasy, but ask the older gamers, the ones with back pain, reading glasses, and war stories about dial-up internet, and they'll swear this is the real king. Before FF7 turned the series mainstream, FF6 was the heavyweight champion. And the Pixel Remaster doesn't reinvent anything, it just cleans it up with nicer visuals, better audio, and loads of QOL tweaks. So yeah, don't expect modern flash or cinematic drama. This one's a slow burn, emotional old school classic, but of course, don't expect your grandkids to like it. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Alright, this remake is very much a Mario game in the purest sense. People are enjoying it, recommending it left and right, but nobody's writing long essays about its systems or themes, and that's completely normal. Mario games aren't designed for hardcore analysis. They're built to be picked up, played, and enjoyed without friction. And in this game, the turn-based combat is simple but fun, the writing is charming, and everything just flows nicely. And the fact that people recommend it so casually actually proves how good it is. It's approachable, lighthearted, and doesn't waste your time. Persona 3 Reload. This remake finally lets old school fans relive the nostalgia from the original, but now with tons of quality of life improvements. And no, it's not Persona 5, but it doesn't need to be. Every Persona game has its own flavor, and P3 Reload keeps that darker tone and emotional weight that made it special in the first place. And look, if you were a dork with social anxiety who got ignored back in school, then this is your redemption arc. Now you can make friends, talk to pretty girls, and pretend you actually had a fun and interesting school life for once. The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero. Alright, this is the starting point of the second arc, Crossbell, and yep, it's very Trails. That means tons of dialogue, slow pacing, and a story that takes its sweet time setting things up. You're not rushing to save the world in the first 5 hours. You're talking to NPCs, learning about politics, and slowly getting attached to the cast. And honestly, that's the deal with this series. If you like one Trails game, you'll like all of them. Same structure, same vibes, same commitment. It's a slow burn, but for fans, it's pure comfort food JRPG goodness. Sea of Stars. Now, this game really splits people. Some say it's a heartfelt homage to the classics, while others think it's overhyped and full of flaws. And honestly, both sides kinda have a point. Maybe people were starving so badly for a classic-style hit that they lowered their standards. Or maybe this really is the simple, charming throwback the genre needed. Who knows? Anyway, what's clear is that this game is a giant love letter to SNES-era JRPGs. You know, turn-based battles, pixel art, and those nostalgic vibes. So yeah, if you want that retro feel, this scratches the itch.
My lead!
Got it!
Trails in the Sky first chapter. Alright, the Trails series isn't that popular, but people who actually know their JRPGs swear by it. Why? Because it nails exactly what the target audience wants. A cozy, colorful world, friends who actually care about you, girls showing affection, and a protagonist who gradually becomes that cool, reliable guy who saves the day. And no, the politics aren't as deep as fans pretend, but when your fan base is mostly self-proclaimed Sigma males disconnected from the real world, anything looks complex. Anyway, this is the first game in the Liberal arc, and the starting point of the entire series.
Oh crap!
The Legend of Heroes, Trails through Daybreak. Okay, this is the first game in the fourth arc, Calvard, and it shakes things up by introducing action-based combat that can be switched to the classic turn-based system. Kinda the best of both worlds, you know. But don't worry, this series lives and dies by its turn-based combat, so that's still the stronger aspect. And like every Trails game, it nails exactly what its audience wants. Relationships that slowly build, wholesome friendships, romance with pretty anime girls, and a sense of purpose. So yeah, with all the tropes firing at once, this is basically the greatest copium ever. Chained Echoes. Alright, now this is the game people love to bring up when they want to flex on Sea of Stars fans. They say this one is the better modern retro JRPG, and honestly, they're kinda right. The combat system is tight, the pacing is punchy, and the mechanics feel way more thoughtfully designed. And sure, some people swear the story and dialogue are incredible, but let's be real, a lot of them haven't touched a book or interacted with actual adults since high school. I mean, it's fine, but it's definitely not peak literature. But still, this is absolutely a must-try. Chrono Trigger. Now, this one holds a sacred spot in gaming history, but a lot of younger gamers bounce off it immediately because of the visuals, the pacing, and the simplicity, and honestly, that's their loss. Back in its era, this wasn't just a good JRPG. This was the JRPG. Seriously, it was a dream team project made by some of the brightest minds in the industry, all at their peak. And yes, people are still preaching its greatness decades later, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, if you genuinely love turn-based RPGs, this one isn't optional. It's a mandatory pilgrimage. Dragon Quest XI's, Echoes of an Elusive Age. Alright, this one is old school JRPG DNA wrapped in modern visuals. So yeah, don't come in expecting some wild, reinvented RPG experience with a super complex story and gameplay. This one proudly sticks to the classics with its turn-based combat, charming characters, and that wholesome vibe that feels like warm soup for the soul. And honestly, it's the perfect game to play in bed on your Switch before sleeping. It's cozy, comfy, and relaxing, basically the opposite of hardcore Western CRPGs that demand full focus and mental energy. So yeah, give it a go if you're not a hardcore player. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Now this game doesn't fit the traditional turn-based mold perfectly. It's not strict old-school menu combat with no movement, but it's also not tactical in the grid-based sense either. And honestly, it feels wrong to leave this one out because the game is just that good. And yeah, the main story is lighter compared to the first game. But who cares? I mean, everything else is turned up to the max. The combat is smoother, the side content is insane, and the overall package is bigger, crazier, and more fun. Oh, and the open world is actually fun too. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Okay, let's get this straight. The SMT series was never meant to be Persona. If you're coming here expecting slice-of-life school drama and social links, you're in the wrong neighborhood. SMT is about pure gameplay. Tough battles, brutal dungeon runs, demon fusion, and an atmosphere so bleak it makes coffee taste sad. And yeah, the story here isn't going to win awards, it's fine, but that's not why you play it. What does hit hard is the turn-based combat. It's strategic, punishing, and extremely satisfying when you outplay the game instead of the other way around. So yeah, ignore the comparisons. Clair Obscur. Expedition 33. This one is the new kid on the block and it's already making the veterans sweat. The story goes hard. It's surreal, emotional, and stylish without trying too hard. Every scene looks like it belongs in an art gallery that also sells antidepressants. The combat is turn-based but with time-based parries and dodges that keep you locked in from start to finish. However, people are hyping this game so much it's starting to sound suspicious. Some even think it's a psyop cooked up by the industry. Either way, it's real, it's fire, and it might be the future of turn-based RPGs.
Stand waiting.
3 remaining.
Metaphor, ReFantazio. Okay, Metaphor is basically Persona wearing medieval armor. Same DNA, same energy, and same soul. Just swap the school uniforms for fantasy outfits and replace exams with kingdom-level drama. So if you love Persona's style, character bonding, and emotional beats, this feels instantly familiar. But don't think it's just a reskin. The world building hits different, the tone is more mythic, and the combat blends turn-based strategy with dynamic decisions. Simply put, it's Persona vibes but with combat similar to SMT.
Tougher than I thought.
That's your weakness, Panther.
Persona 5 Royal. Let's be real, if you're watching this and have an anime profile pic, you've probably played this 5 times already. This game is peak weeb energy, and somehow it actually pulled in Western players who usually think JRPGs are just turn-based chores with bad voice acting. But here, everything hits, the combat is fast, the characters are memorable, the music is straight heat, and the whole thing oozes style. Royal adds even more content, fixing stuff you didn't even know was broken. So yeah, even if you roll your eyes at anime nonsense, this one still goes hard.
Don't forget this feeling. Yeah! Victory!
So do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.